Casing the Cover is a bi-monthly podcast series hosted by Mary and Jen. That's me. In our day-to-day experiences, Mary and I happen across numerous crappy covers, atrocious authors, and sad, sad titles. We spend a healthy amount of time decoding how cover designs can be humorously contrary to the story within or used to lure readers based on demographic or current trends. Should you judge a book by the cover? Join Mary and Jen on the case to find out.
Hello and welcome to another episode of Casing the Cover, the podcast where it's a new year, same shit. I am Mary, and as always, with me from a distance is my co-host Jen. Hi, Jen. One more time, not as high.
Hello.
It kind of got that one. Your mic doesn't like it when you talk to like high pitched. It gets angry.
I know. Everyone gets angry when I get really high pitched.
How are we today, Jen? The world is burning again. We're hiding from it.
Yes, the world is burning. We're hiding. It's okay. But we're going to talk about the apocalypse. It's going to be great.
You thought that apocalypse was over in 2020. Hell no.
Hell no. We're going to keep going on this arc. I see what I did there? Story arc.
You're ridiculous.
I know. I love being ridiculous. So I just would like to point out that I read this book back in July of last year.
So a lot of our episodes, we've spent a little bit of time talking about what's coming up this year. We've got a couple interviews lined up. I've been kind of going, what am I going to read this year? And then we went this morning through Jen's list of books that she read last year that we never recorded an episode on. Yeah, Jen's going to be running this game for a little while because you still got like 5 books.
I know. And those are the 5 to 10 whatever books that I actually care about and want to talk about. Whereas like I don't really have an interest in talking about some of them. And I really hope we haven't talked about Apocalypse Ark. I feel like we talked so much about it.
Yeah, well, so Apocalypse Ark is one of when we did our sci-fi versus fantasy episode where I pulled a bunch of books off the shelf and tried to make you guess what genre they were. Apocalypse Ark was one of those books. So we've touched on it briefly. I think we read like the summary and stuff of it, which I will make you read again because it's so preposterous. So wonderful. It maybe to people who have listened to those episodes, it sounds vaguely familiar, but we haven't actually discussed what's on the inside of that book yet.
It's very special inside that book.
Well, tell us about it, Jen.
Oh my gosh. Okay, so Apocalypse Ark, and it's Ark with a K, so like Noah's Ark. And yes, it is about Noah's Ark. Noah is the bad guy in this book.
Noah's Ark of the future?
Kind of. Timeline on this book is really weird.
Okay.
I want to talk a little bit about the author beforehand. I just would like to also point out there is only one of this book left in stock on Amazon right now. So if you love it after we've talked about it, it is also available in our library system.
It is for some reason.
Oh, yes. I'm like, my books aren't in there, but this is not bitter. Not bitter at all. Anyway, so Publishers Weekly got a hold of this. This is the 3rd book in the Cross novel series. The other 2 books are Mona Lisa Sacrificed and Dead Hamlets.
So Mona Lisa Sacrifice sounds like it's part of like the Da Vinci Code series. Hamlet Sacrifice sounds like it's a sequel to Rosencrantz and Guildenstern Are Dead.
Okay, sure. I don't know that one.
It's like a parody. I've never like actually watched all of it, but it's like a parody of Hamlet from Rosencrantz and Guildenstern's point of view. The 2 guys that get killed.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's what that is.
That's fun. Okay, so the author's name is Peter Roman. Apparently this is another name he writes under because he also writes under Peter Derbyshire.
Okay.
And one of his books is called The Warhol Gang.
Like Andy Warhol?
Yeah. I don't know. This dude just like, so this is pulp. Like full on, it knows what it is, fully embraces it.
Are these books like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen bullshit? Isn't it like along those lines?
Yeah, but it might be worse.
Oh God.
So again, like among the characters in this, you've got Noah from Noah's Ark.
Of course.
You've got is it Captain Ahab or Ahab from Moby Dick?
Moby Dick, Ahab, yeah.
Yeah, but you also got Melville, who wrote Moby Dick as a character in this.
That makes no fucking sense.
And Alice in Wonderland, who is like the weirdest character in the whole book, and that is saying something.
It's almost like he is writing a sequel to like League of Extraordinary Gentlemen, because I believe that one has Captain Nemo in it.
Yeah.
And it has Ishmael in it.
Like, what is happening right now? I think Ishmael is in it too. I don't know. Okay, Captain Nemo is in it.
Oh,
yes.
Okay.
I forgot. Captain Nemo is in it. He is an Atlantean.
Oh Lord.
And let's see. So they lost God's Bible.
Okay.
Not just any Bible, but God's Bible. Like,
why does God need the Bible?
I don't know. Personal collection.
Okay. Okay. That's a good explanation as any, I suppose.
I mean, I have my books in my bookshelves.
Okay, but that's like, but God didn't write okay, we're going to get into the theology debate. God didn't write the Bible. That would be like you binding fan fiction of your books and putting it on your shelf.
I might have that too.
Oh my God. Okay. I'm not judging you at all, Jen.
Hey, but there's fan fiction of my book. So, that's a thing.
That's a good thing.
Oh my goodness. Okay. Also in my book collection are books that I've ghost written that don't have my name on them.
That's different.
So
you still
I don't
wrote
know.
them.
Yeah, I don't know. But
God didn't ghostwrite the Bible.
I mean, from some people's perspective, those who physically wrote it, Holy Ghost wrote it.
Yeah, they're ghostwriting.
She's ignoring my Holy Ghost pun. Anyway.
I didn't even hear it. I didn't hear the Holy Ghost pun. I wish I hadn't.
Okay. So this guy, his name is Cross, and you find out that, like, I don't know if he's the reincarnation of Christ or like Christ's soul dropped into his body. I don't know, something like that. But he steals grace from angels, and that's how he gets his like superpowers, his like Christ powers.
Okay.
This is the most irreverent book, by the way. If you are listening to us right now and you are of that creed, you're just turn us off now because it's about to get bad.
Is it worse than Good Omens?
It's because it is meant to be irreverent. Like, okay. So yeah. Oh my gosh. So Noah of Noah's Ark, apparently after the flood and after everything, after he let all the animals off of the ark and the world repopulated and all that stuff, God didn't want him to just like let the ark get rusty or whatever. So sent him out to collect all the reject animals like krakens and unicorns and crazy stuff like that.
Shouldn't they all be dead if they were rejects and didn't make it to the ark?
I don't know how that works. Or maybe in the repopulation, or maybe, business happened on the ark.
Oh.
And these are the fuck ups. We've dropped more F-bombs on this than we should. Anyway.
Oh, well. This is a weird book. Just don't watch this episode. It's fine. If you're offended by literally anything, don't watch this episode. I feel like that's a good disclaimer.
Yes, excellent disclaimer. If you are offended by anything, don't.
This is not the episode for you.
This is not the episode for you. This is not the episode you're looking for. It's a good way to start the year. So he sends Noah off to go get all the crazy animals, and Noah goes crazy, like insane, and thus starts collecting and kind of, I feel like it's like Davy Jones in Pirates of the Caribbean, where the ship kind of comes up and it like swallows things.
Yeah.
It's that kind of thing.
Okay.
And so like storm clouds happen whenever Noah's approaching and all this stuff. And so if Noah gets a hold of God's Bible, it will cause the apocalypse.
Why?
It's very complicated. Also, the timeline on this book is absolutely insane. But this book knows what it is, and it fully accepts it. So let's see. I'm gonna read the back because I haven't done that yet. I got super distracted.
I don't have time to read the back. This book is ridiculous. We have to talk about it.
I don't have time for this. Okay, so stare into the abyss, and the abyss stares back. In the third Cross book, the immortal angel killer, Cross, faces his most dangerous enemy yet, Noah. For ages, Noah has sailed the seas, seeking out all of God's mistakes and imprisoning them on his ark. Noah is not humanity's savior, but instead God's jailer. But he has grown increasingly mad over the centuries, and now he is determined to end the world by raising the mysterious sunken city. Only one person can stop him, and that's Cross. Apocalypse Ark is an epic chase around the world and through history and myth as Cross races to stop Noah from finding the sunken city. He's joined by a few old friends, such as Alice from Alice in Wonderland, and several new characters like Captain Nemo and his crew of Atlanteans aboard the submarine the Nautilus, the sorcerer's pirate Blackbeard, who has sworn revenge upon Cross, the devilish angel Sariel, whose sacred duty it is to protect God's Bible, and the eerie and mysterious Ishmael, who may be the key to the world's salvation or its damnation. Cross must find a way to bring them all together to stop Noah or allow the world to drown in madness.
Ridiculous. Absolutely ridiculous.
I feel like I should warn everybody as well that, like, Ishmael is a vampire.
Why not? Why the fuck not? So is the Christ allegory named Cross because of, the whole cross thing?
Yes.
That's messed up.
It is. It's super messed up. Like, in the cover of this book is got like the tentacles coming off of it. Where did the book cover go? There it goes. It's got the tentacles coming out of it, like some kraken or thing in the sea. And the author's name is bigger than the title.
Makes it seem like he's got some clout, but does this guy have any clout?
He doesn't seem to, that I can find. I didn't look super hard, but
No.
like usually, yeah.
Who's the publisher on this?
Oh, this is another Canadian one, I think. Yes, this is another Canadian author. Shazine Publications.
Do you think he has Canadian clout that we just don't know about?
Maybe. Yes, he's got Canadian clout. It's CHI Zine Publications, and it was published back in 2016. So this book's been around a bit.
Yeah.
And obviously, if it's the third one, the series itself has to have been around for a minute. It's so interesting.
It kind of seems to me like I only vaguely remember the cover, but I remember it being pretty stock art-ish.
Yeah.
Indie cover.
Yes. But who knows? Maybe that's a Canadian thing.
I have a feeling that maybe this guy, like, if he's got clout, he like has his audience who knows his thing and they like him, but like he's probably not very mainstream because I don't know how you could be.
What? You mean with Alice in Wonderland and other random characters popping up and all this stuff that he does, you can't be mainstream?
It feels to me like Supernatural meets League of Extraordinary Gentlemen. And I have a feeling this man wrote some sort of crossover fan fiction and then published it.
But it's really fun. Like, I hate to say that something that is as ludicrous as this was a good read, but it was a fun read.
Well, but he's being silly on purpose, so I can see how it would be fun.
Yes, it is like, as long as you go into it and you're not like, I am going to take this seriously and I'm going to look for a really great plot and characters and storyline. No, that's not what this is for.
Yeah. You'd be foolish to do that.
Yes, that is a very foolish endeavor to get in there like that. But it was a lot of fun. And I think that the cover certainly did not lie about what you're getting into.
No, but at the same time, the cover seems a little subdued for what you're getting into.
Yeah, but I think that the indie cover feel of it also lets you know that, like, this is not some, I don't know, New York Times bestseller kind of cover. This is, you're going to get what you get.
But, like, I feel like you can be an irreverent author and still have cover art. Like, think of Christopher Moore? Like, all of his stuff is super, super irreverent, but it all has that very distinctive cover art. And I think we want to talk about him at some point. But, like, you know what a Christopher Moore book looks like the minute you pick it up. It's all got the same font. It's always that very cartoony thing. And his books are incredibly irreverent. That's all they are. Like, the stupidest angel and, like, that kind of stuff. But it's very, like, oh, I know what this is. So you can be a weird, irreverent author and still have, like, some style to what you're writing, but maybe he's going through a publisher that doesn't really feel the need, because that cover is pretty subdued for what it is that we're reading.
Yeah, but at the same time, like, Dead Hamlets and the other one all have that same theme. Like, he picked this as the energy he wants for these covers. So I don't know, maybe he's the Canadian Chris Moore.
I just wish his covers were better.
Maybe that's the level in Canada. We don't know.
You got to hide your irreverency behind that doesn't make sense either, because I feel like Canadians can be very irreverent.
Yeah, they're just polite about it.
That's true.
Yeah, I brought up, like, the Dead Hamlets cover, and the Dead Hamlets cover is very similar.
Do you have a picture of it? I haven't seen that cover.
I do. It's like the same kind of thing.
It's pretty similar. Is that part of the same series?
Yeah. Okay. Yeah.
So
I'm trying to find.
There's consistency in the book covers throughout the series.
Yes. Of course, Mona Lisa Sacrifice is not on here.
Do you think the Dead Hamlets is about, like, Hamlet clones? Like Shakespeare clones?
I don't know.
What are those summaries for Dead Hamlets and the other one?
Hang on. I'm going to look. Okay, Mona Lisa Sacrifice. There it is. See?
Yeah, they're mostly, but, like, these, the Dead Hamlet and the Mona Lisa Sacrifice, they look like the same cover. They're just kind of big letters with, like, smoky background.
Yeah. Okay, so Mona Lisa Sacrifice is the first book. So How does he start out with this? For thousands of years, Cross has wandered the earth, a immortal soul trapped in the undying body left behind by Christ.
So he's not Jesus. He's just stealing his body. He's a Jesus body snatcher.
He's a Jesus body snatcher, yes. He's been a thief, a con man, a soldier, and a drunkard. He's fought as a slave in the Colosseum, as a knight at King Arthur's side. But now he must play the part of reluctant hero, as an angel comes to him for help finding the Mona Lisa, the real Mona Lisa that inspired the painting. What?
So the person Mona Lisa.
Yes. There's fairies in this one. There's,
oh, for frack's sake,
magical artifacts.
Dude, pick a genre.
Right?
This is like when Indiana Jones decided it was going to do aliens.
Oh, his ancient enemy is Judah. They're trying to start a new holy war. Oh my goodness.
Why not?
Yeah. They're good. This it takes urban fantasy to a different level. Not a whole new level, just a different one.
It's pretty different.
Oh my gosh.
Can you even, like, call this fantasy though? Because there's a point at which there's fantasy, but this is more parody, right?
I don't know. It's in historical fantasy, dark fantasy, and paranormal urban fantasy. That's what it's listed in.
Really?
Yeah.
Like, he's not even like time hopping. This stuff's just all happening at once.
He is time hopping.
Oh, he is time hopping. Okay.
But, like, it is happening at once.
But he's, like, time hopping, but also hopping into fiction.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you hopped into fiction 100 years ago to end up back today.
With Alice in Wonderland. Looking for the Mona Lisa.
Or he talks to Alice in Wonderland at one point and she hasn't been created yet.
I don't understand.
You're not supposed to understand.
I wonder if it would also have helped if you had read the first 2 books in this series and not just the third one.
I feel like it wouldn't have.
No? Okay. The third one, okay, what's the plot for the second book?
Oh, hang on. Let's go find the second one.
Because the Mona Lisa one doesn't seem as preposterous as the one where Alice in Wonderland is on Noah's Ark.
Let's see. Something is rotten in the court of the fairy queen. A deadly spirit is killing off the fairy and has mysterious ties to Shakespeare's play Hamlet. So Cross has to save the day again, obviously. Apparently fairies stole his daughter and made her a fairy.
Whose daughter?
Cross's daughter.
Oh, so okay, so he has a daughter.
Yes.
Is it his daughter or is it Jesus's daughter? Which one is it?
That is a very good question. So let's see. We got a cast of characters who include the real witches of Macbeth, the undead playwright and demon hunter Christopher Marlowe.
Why not?
And of course, Alice in Wonderland, and a deranged magical scholar, a very supernatural William Shakespeare. What?
I like this one better than the other one. With the exception of Alice in Wonderland, who does not make sense in that context, right? Because she doesn't really exist.
Neither do the witches of Macbeth.
Okay, but I could totally buy a fairy, like magical, witchy mystery set in the world of Marlowe and Shakespeare and them being involved with the supernatural. That as a plot makes sense to me. And then you throw in Alice in Wonderland and it's all gone.
It's all gone.
Because, there could totally be you could totally write like an alternate history fiction of like Shakespeare being involved in the Fae world and that's where he gets his ideas. That totally could be a thing.
Yeah, I feel like that's a Netflix original at this point.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Yeah, but it could be a thing.
Ooh.
That actually, those bad Discovery of Witches books, in the second one, they go back in time. And her vampire husband was friends with Marlowe. And Marlowe's like in love with him.
Sure, okay.
And those books are regarded as good historical fiction. Historical fantasy, I suppose.
I feel like I have to read this Warhol Gang now.
That's not part of the series, right? That's a different book?
No, this is something else. HarperCollins did this one.
Wow. Okay. When was that published, before or after these weird ones?
Before.
So do you think he couldn't get them to publish any more of this stuff and then he went to this other publishing house, or was it just too weird for HarperCollins?
Okay, so one person's review of the Warhol Gang, which is the HarperCollins book that he has out, which by the way has a very Warhol cover on it with guns.
Okay.
Very cool. This person says, this book felt like I was witnessing an acid trip by reading about it.
So maybe he just was too weird for HarperCollins and they decided, no, we don't want your weird Bible fanfic. I like that cover a lot.
Yeah.
That's really cool. That's a great cover.
Yeah, but at the same time, it's still very simple. And his name is not the biggest thing on here.
Right.
It's actually rather small.
It embodies the idea of the book, though. If you're thinking of a Warhol gang, of course you're gonna have Warhol art with guns. I wonder if it's is it mobstery?
Yeah, it sounds like it's kind of, well, yeah, I don't know. Okay, and then he's got Please, which has got a person who looks like they're dead in a shopping cart on the cover, and Short, Sharp Episodes chronicles the life of a young man who drifts through a hallucinatory urban world filled with celebrity wannabes, addictive relationships, and jobs demand he become someone else. He just wants to find his ex-wife, who seems to exist only in his memories. The media-savvy irony of Quentin Tarantino. I could see Apocalypse Ark as a Tarantino film.
Really?
Yes. I think Tarantino would get this guy.
Or just don't make it into a movie.
Yeah, please don't do that.
I'm kind of
please
interested.
Don't stiffy this.
I'm interested in the Warhol one. That one seems a little more interesting, but it's probably weird too.
It's probably weird too. You can read the Warhol one and you can talk about that one.
And maybe this is my cover bias showing. Like, to me, if you put Apocalypse Ark and the Warhol one next to each other, right? The Warhol one has a way better cover. And that's obviously because it's through HarperCollins. It's through a bigger publisher, bigger budget. He may have had more say in the other covers, but then again, which probably why his name is giant on them.
Yes.
But the Warhol one is way more interesting. It seems more in context with the book than smoky background with my name big on it, right?
Yeah.
It looks more interesting. But when you read the titles are about equal interesting too, I'd say.
Yeah. Well, I don't know. I do think that, like you said, the Mona Lisa Sacrifice and Dead Hamlets, they're kind of more of a draw. Apocalypse Ark is kind of, it's sci-fi bland.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
It kind of
like,
is.
Like you feel like, oh yeah, I've probably seen a title similar to this, or
sci-fi bland. That's I like that. That I don't know why, but that kind of describes to me the covers too of those books. Sci-fi bland. It's kind of what you'd expect from like that generic, like, I just am doing the bare minimum to fit into this genre so someone will read me.
Are we quoting me on sci-fi bland now?
I like this. I like this term. Oh my god, it applies to so many things, Jen. How many shows are sci-fi bland? Everything on the Sci-Fi Channel except The Magicians, because that was actually good.
So is that a button now? Are we doing buttons of sci-fi bland?
Sci-fi bland. That could apply to so many things. You could be fantasy bland. Jen invented a term today. I love it.
I invented a term.
I love it.
I'm so proud of myself. You can we'll get a Patreon up and going, and you can buy our buttons that say sci-fi bland.
Jen has so many good insights on this. First, it was Star Kid is Shakespeare.
Oh yes.
Now it's the existence of sci-fi bland. Your best work comes alive on this pod, Jen.
I know that's not saying much about my writing then.
We have not been kind to this author. Here's the thing, right? He probably knows exactly what he's doing. He's publishing nonsense, so people will talk about his book being nonsense.
I think he's enjoying the heck out of what he's doing, though. Yeah. And I do applaud him for having the balls to do what he wants and put it out there and just be like, this is who I am. And in a way, I think this is how people should look at writing when we talk about, like, writing is art. It should be considered the same way as other art is considered. Mm-hmm. You don't go up to an artist who's doing their work and go, oh, well, maybe if you found an editor or another artist to help you with that. You don't do that. Like, that's rude.
I mean, yes and no. I think it depends on the medium. You have editors in lots of mediums. I mean, film, television, editing in itself is an art form.
Yes, but like, to some degree, you have to let the artist be the artist.
Yeah.
And produce something. And to me, like, the editing is about the cleanup. Like you say, it's like, okay, well, yeah, your grammar is a little weird here. I didn't quite understand what you were trying to say.
It's not about rewriting it.
Right. Which I think a lot of people go into writing and they think, well, you know, I've got to fit into the genre. I've got to fit into this mold of what people want to read. But like with art, it's like I splattered some paint on here and somebody thinks it's brilliant. Or I, like Warhol, I printed a soup can 10 times on a page in different colors, pop art, and it's beautiful and people pay thousands of dollars for it. Why don't we do this with writing? This dude had the balls to do it.
I mean, we do this with writing. There are people who their genre, and I guess my beef is that this book is not being sold as what it is. Like you said, it's historical sci-fi or whatever, but it's not. It's a reverent parody. It's like Christopher Moore. It could be ticking most of those boxes, but primarily it is commentary. It is parody. There's no way that your average sci-fi fantasy reader is going to pick this book up and love it. This is for people who like weird, irreverent crap.
Me.
Right. So maybe what I'm saying is it's marketing itself to the wrong people.
I don't think the book itself is, but I do think that where it's categorized in like
Right.
Amazon and stuff like that, much like in the library, there's a certain point where you just have to put it in a certain genre.
Right.
And yeah, it's freaking weird.
But you realize Christopher Moore is in fiction.
Yeah.
He's not in sci-fi fantasy, even though his books tend to be more fantastical elements. I mean, he's got several books that are like religious. He's got several books about vampires. I think he's got one about like death, like the personification of death.
Yeah.
But his books are just in fiction because they're regarded as, well, these are, you know, literary parody kind of a thing. They're not like, oh, these are weird sci-fi.
Yeah. So what you're saying then is that Apocalypse Ark should not be in sci-fi, which is where I found it.
I don't think it should be, because while it uses science fiction elements, I don't think the people who are going to pick it up and like it are necessarily your traditional sci-fi readers. Because your traditional sci-fi readers are looking for stuff that is more just straight science fiction.
Yeah.
I don't think they're going to pick up the weird Alice in Wonderland is on a boat with Noah stuff and be into it.
But see, this goes back to our issue with genres as a whole, because like sci-fi and fantasy are now just sci-fi.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's a giant disservice.
Well, and we've talked about it with romance and stuff too, and even like mysteries like that too. Like I get bookstores and libraries. The point of putting things in a genre is so that if you are someone who likes said genre, it's easier for you to find what you're looking for, right?
Yeah.
But that being said, there are so many subgenres in each existing genre that it's pretty much impossible if you are someone who likes a thing. And I've realized this, just me trying to find stuff that I like to read, because my tastes aren't super specific, but they are. Like, I like everything, but sometimes I'm in the mood for a specific thing. And it's almost impossible to go looking for what you want and to find it without knowing every freaking keyword that it hits.
Yes.
So if I just spent a week binge watching Bridgerton, because of course I have, I can't go walk in and go, okay, this is the kind of thing that I want to read and pick one off the shelf, because it's not subcategorized into Regency romance and fluffy rich man romance and weird Amish romance, nor is sci-fi broken down into, you know, here's military sci-fi, here's futuristic aliens, here's weird apocalypse stuff, here's, you know, irreverent stuff about the Bible. It's not broken down like that. So if you just go in, you can't just pick a book off the shelf and go, I'm going to read this one next, because it's not all what you're looking for.
Well, I do think though at some point you have to, like, you can't do that. There's no way.
You know what they should start doing? When you go online, and I'm someone who watches way too much YouTube, when you go online, YouTube videos have tags. They have keywords. Books should have keywords on the back cover. It should be like, here's the keywords that this fits.
So they do not have them on the back cover, but they do have them on the versa of the title page.
Do they?
Yes, they do. So there you go. It does exist. There's usually 3 to 4, and they start with like the larger and go down to the more niche.
I didn't know this was a thing. Look at this. So this is because you publish. This is why you know things.
That's why I know things, because I publish, and I have to pick those 4 words.
And you start looking for that, because they should be on the back cover when you read. Because here's the thing, Jen, what is this whole podcast about? This is about the fact that you look at the cover and then you move on.
Yes.
No one's opening a book to look for keywords.
Wait, I'm gonna go look and see if maybe this would. Oh, I pushed it off my screen.
Because yeah, books should have keywords on them, like, you know, romance, Regency, sexy.
I know that steampunk books do have that. They actually say steampunk in the top corner. Let's see.
Is this also a thing that mostly exists with genre fiction, or do you think like if I picked up any book off the shelf, I would find it?
I feel like it's a genre fiction thing.
Okay, that's too bad, because all books should have that.
Yes, but like, yeah, this does not have like in the top corner. I have seen like some sci-fi books that say sci-fi in the top corner.
Yeah.
Or like it happens a lot more in nonfiction. Nonfiction will have like spirituality, self-help, or political and commentary.
Right.
Things like that. They will put that in there, but I think that's because like more and more we're moving away from the Dewey system and into subject. So like you have to have the subject up in the top corner so that the people who don't know a whole lot, I'm not going to say the people who are flunkies and shelf books because that's me. I am a flunky who shelf books. So they know where to put it, quickly and easily. And it's not that they wouldn't know, it's just that, hey, so the choice is clear.
I think that's something that would be incredibly useful if that were something that was widely accepted across the publishing industry as a thing you do with books. Even if it's like your mainstream authors, look at Patterson. How many different series has he written? Wouldn't it be useful to be able to pick up a Patterson and go, okay, this one is a police drama, this one is a crime novel, this one is a legal drama, this one is a chef solving mysteries. Okay, that's not really a category, but there are categories within mystery, within thrillers. There's police dramas and there's law, whatever, what do you call it? What did I say? Legal procedurals. And there are people can go, oh, this is what this book hits in my radar. I understand what this one is going to fit into.
I think to some degree there is some of that because I know that I have seen crime drama on the back of a book. And it's always in that like top corner on the back. Like
I have a book here, Jen.
She's looking.
Where? On the inside? Where do you say they usually have these?
On the versa of the title page, it should be.
Versa of the title page. You mean like the back of the title page? You're using jargon, Jen.
I'm jargoning. Sorry. Yes, I jargon.
Also, my nails are wet and I really don't want to ruin this Hank Green book from the library. Thinking about me, I'm doing my nails while we're doing pod.
Yes, we talked about how we fully embraced this is who we are now. I have not brushed my hair today. I'm wearing
this one. So you're talking about this page, yes? Can you see
yes.
it? I know my camera's messed up.
Yes.
It doesn't say anything like that.
It doesn't have down in the bottom.
So this is Penguin Random House is who published this particular book.
Okay.
There's a copyright disclaimer. There's a bunch of stuff about who owns the whatevers. Library of Congress catalog information.
See, that I'll tell you too.
ISBN information, and then it's a work of fiction. If you have names in this, it's there's nothing about like the genre. Whereas this book could be, this book could say alien invasion. This book could say sci-fi. This book could say commentary because it's all of those things.
Yeah.
And there are other books that are all those things. I've been reading the Lindsay Ellis book, and it is all those things. But it's also historical fiction set in the 90s.
Don't do that.
It's true, Jen. That's historical fiction.
No.
I've been watching Dairy Girls. That's really cute. Also historical fiction set in the 90s.
It's not historical fiction if it's set in the 90s.
Yes, it is.
Contemporary.
We are 30 years away from that, Jen.
Oh, it hurts my heart.
We're 30 years away from the 90s.
Did you see that? Another gray hair happened. Did you see it?
But, I feel like that would be really useful in categorizing some stuff and in finding for readers to find more of what they enjoy and more of what they're looking for, especially when you're talking about genre and when you're talking about weirder, more niche stuff. Because a lot of genres are no longer just your all-encompassing, this is romance, this is sci-fi, this is fantasy. There are so many subgenres now that I think it's a disservice to readers to keep trying to lump it all in together.
Yes, but then like going back to Apocalypse Ark, what would be your 4 words that you would put on the versa of that title page?
Well, satire would be one, right?
Okay.
Science fiction can be one of them. I will allow that. Historical.
Okay.
And maybe religious.
Okay. Now, if you put, what'd you say, satire, sci-fi, religious, and history, does that really encompass this book?
It encompasses better than just it's sci-fi.
Yes.
Because if you go into it going, this is sci-fi, it could literally be anything. It could be Lost in Space. It could be Hunger Games. It could be a Beautifully Foolish Endeavor. It could be any of those things, right? It could be Independence Day. But if you tell them this science fiction is a religious and historical satire, that covers a whole lot more.
Yes. It's kind of religious, historical, literary satire.
Okay. But I'm saying, like, even giving it those 4 qualifiers helps you understand a lot more of what it is.
Yeah.
And what you're getting into. And you maybe pick it up going, I really don't want to read a religious satire today.
But you do. When you get into this, you do.
But I guess what I'm saying is, like we said at the beginning of this podcast, hey, if you can't handle weird irreverency, if you will find this offensive, don't listen.
Yeah.
If you are a sci-fi reader who's going to be offended by this man is in Christ's body killing angels or something nonsense, you aren't going to pick it up.
No.
And there are plenty of people who would be offended by that are sci-fi readers.
Yeah, although I do think out of all the readers out there, I will say that sci-fi readers are probably the most open-minded.
I don't know. I know of a lot of religious authors who write sci-fi and fantasy. So, and I mean, often they use it to push their own agendas within sci-fi and fantasy, mostly to young readers. So I don't think that's, I mean, you're look at Ender's Game. Look at, like, there's a lot of people who are very political and very religious and who are very agenda driven that write sci-fi and fantasy.
For the writers, yes, but those are the writers. But I think the readers are willing to pick up from everything from Orson Scott Card to Peter Roman.
Yeah.
I think they are the ones really who are like, yeah, let's jump around, let's be a little weird. But like, whereas romance readers, and I am generalizing, but like romance readers and mystery readers are gonna, this is their genre and this is their type, and they kind of stick to it.
I mean, I feel like maybe more with like mystery writers, because I'm trying to think of like, and this is also wrong of me to age discriminate, but I was listening to somebody talking about this the other day. I think it was on a podcast where, like, when you made a habit by your 30s, you are more likely to stick with that habit. And that can be even in like terms of what you listen to. Like, you are not going to find, you're less likely to find a new genre of music you like when you get past your 30s. And I feel like that's probably also the same of readers. You're less likely, if you like mysteries or you like romance, you're less likely to branch out and read a new kind of book when you get to your 30s and upwards. And guess who primarily checks out mystery and romance novels? It's almost always people in their 40s and upwards.
That's true. Yes.
It's little old ladies and gray old men are picking up those Pattersons. That's why they make so many of them, because they know that the same 10 people are going to read every single book in that series, right?
Yeah. Yeah.
Whereas they're less likely to come in and pick up a weird irreverent sci-fi book off the shelf, which is probably why formulaic mystery and romance novels have a better chance of getting published than really weird sci-fi novels, because they just don't have the same, like, I'll read another one of the same thing to them.
Yeah.
Does that make sense? So I don't know what my point was, but I had one. I don't know where I was getting at. I mean, you do still get, and I think that when you see a new movement in a genre, it's usually spurred by a new generation.
Yeah.
I don't think the shapeshifter romance shit was spurned by people who came up reading paranormal fiction as teenagers.
Yeah.
It was not spurred by the bodice rippers.
I feel like that's a thing we should look at.
What? Like, what was popular, what's popular now versus what was popular with YA like 10 years before it?
Yes.
That's a good idea.
Oh, we should do that. That's an episode.
Well, I mean, I think that the same argument can be made for fantasy. Look at what's been popular in fantasy in the last several years. Mm-hmm. Game of Thrones obviously was the big one. And I know that George R.R. Martin has been writing forever, but the TV show drew in a lot of people who didn't read the books.
Yeah.
Who, as teenagers, were reading Harry Potter.
Yes.
And we're reading Aragorn, and we're reading that kind of shit as teenagers, and then they grew up to go, oh, this one is the same, but it has sex in it. Which is also why I like The Magicians.
Yes. I'm kind of wondering, yes, we have to do this.
Everything is cycles, Jen. Everything is cycles.
Yes, like how fun would it be to like tell people who are in their 40s, you're reading this because you read this as a teenager. And teenagers, just so you know, we know what kind of sexy you're going to be reading. So, like, basically, though, what this means is that weird dystopian romance novels are coming.
No, weird dystopian, maybe. Yeah, maybe, because that was like kind of the next generation. I guess you're right. Because like the people who are now in their 20s and will be reading romance novels in 10 years did grow up on the dystopian. Because I was slightly before that. I was the fantasy kid, right?
Yeah.
So that means in about 20 years, we'll be getting a lot of adult romance that's based around really sad things, because that's what Gen Z is reading.
Oh, God.
Gen Z is reading, you know, The Hate You Give and The Sun Is Also a Star and all these sad, dead teenager books. So that's going to be, we're going to be back in the Nicholas Sparks is going to be at the height of his fame in a couple of years.
Oh my gosh, that'd be so funny if like suddenly you have people like in the next generation who are like, oh, Nicholas Sparks is a thing now.
Well, you know, it's based on there's 30-year cycles and there's 20-year cycles. This is film theory and everything else. But that's why, you know, shows about 50s were popular in the 70s. Shows about the 70s were popular in the 90s. There is a 20 in movies and things, that nostalgia, which is why you shake your head at me, Jen. No. But like 90s and noughties have been the thing that have been really nostalgia the last few years.
And the 80s. Big time with the 80s, because see, I do watch TV.
Well, the 80s is a 30-year cycle. No, the 90s is actually the 30-year cycle. The 80s would be a 40-year cycle.
Oh, ouch. That one hurt even more.
Like, even like fashion trends and stuff, they're saying that the like naughties fashion is going to be a thing in the next few years.
This is why I'm keeping my flannels. Like, my flannels are cool again.
You might have missed it. I think they were cool a couple years ago.
I will bring them back again.
So wait another 20 years.
I'll be alive. It'll be fine. I'll be the hippest 60-year-old ever. Oh, but yes, I do watch TV. And so Bly Manor and The Haunting of Hill House were 2 seasons on Netflix that I just finished watching, and the flashbacks, like they're meant to be taking place in modern day, but the flashbacks are all when the kids back in the 80s and the early 90s. So yeah, it's
well, look at all the TV shows that I've gotten rebooted in the last few years. Will and Grace. They're talking about doing a Friends reunion. Now it's moving to HBO or whatever it's on. I think what's that called? Murphy Brown got rebooted, Roseanne got rebooted. Like, these are all shows that were really prevalent in the 90s.
Yeah.
It's a cycle. It's a nostalgia thing. It's when the group that grew up in that generation gets to the point where they're the ones making the decisions, are interested in that stuff again, and they pump stuff up. And you see the same thing in fiction. I think maybe it takes a little longer in fiction, like in books. Publishing takes forever and writing takes forever, and there's less hands in it. When you're making a film, you maybe have multiple script writers. I mean, film takes forever too, and television takes forever too. But you have multiple screenwriters, you have lots of people in the works, whereas books are one person. And it's hard to hit a trend, and it takes so long to hit a trend that, you know, by the time something is popular, it takes like 5 to 10 years for all the other stuff to come out.
Except that I have recently been shelving books that are about the 2020 pandemic.
Well, yeah.
It has begun. And I'm not talking like commentary. These are fiction
that take place. Yeah. And stuff does get published fast. But like, what kind of publishers are those coming through?
It's varied. It's been some indie publishers, but there's been a couple of big ones that I was like, that's wow, you guys got on that bandwagon fast.
Because like I feel like when you see something that's like popular, like in teen fiction, like when Hunger Games is really big, it took a few years for all of those copycats trickle out. And the thing is, they weren't necessarily copycats. What happens is that the publishing industry goes, oh, this one is popular. What do we have sitting in a pile that is similar?
Yeah, right. It's the slush pile.
Right. It's not someone then goes, oh, I'll write a book like this, because by the time you've written the book and submitted it, that craze is over.
Yeah.
And now they're making movies.
The reason the 2020 pandemic books may be coming out so fast is because all of these authors had plenty of time and no excuses. And so they were like me, and they're cranking words out because they're bored.
Well, and people are starved for content.
Yeah.
People are wanting to read. People are wanting to watch television. My husband and I were talking about this recently. It's easier to put out an album or to write a book during something like a pandemic than it is to create a television show or a movie. Because again, fewer people involved. You can go and write your song by yourself and go into a studio with one other person and record it. You can't make a movie that way. You can't make a television show that way.
It'd be neat to try.
Well, they have tried. That's why we got all those Zoom TV shows for a while. You know, because when you're trying to distance and you're trying to not be around people and you've got something like this going on, it's really hard to make film and television when you can't be around people.
Yeah.
Not as hard to write a book when you can't be around people.
It's so much easier to write a book when you can't be around people.
And I mean, obviously, like there's an emotional and mental thing that goes into the ability to sit and write a book during a pandemic.
Yeah.
But like in terms of the physicality, it's way easier to write and submit a book than it is to try to make a film.
Yeah. The hard bits and pieces of it are much easier. And if you are a total and complete escapist like I am, it's a lot easier because then you just shut yourself in a room and ignore the outside world and create your own. That's, I reject your reality and replace it with my own, to quote the Mythbusters.
Have we gone far enough off topic now that it means it's the end of the episode, Jen?
I think so. I just like shook us way out with the Mythbusters, but that's still science. We're still in sci-fi. It's still counts.
Our off topic was a good insight today. It wasn't just us mumbling about nonsense.
I think it was good, and I do think that you should read the Apocalypse Ark if you are just looking for a romp. Have a good time with it.
Reality is too depressing. Read a book about Noah hunting monsters or some shit.
It's fun. I don't know that I am going to go back and read the other two in the series. I don't know that I had that much fun with it. And there's so many other things I'm reading. Oh my gosh.
Jen reads too many books.
I know. So many things.
I haven't even finished the two books that I was in the middle of reading. I haven't finished Axum's End or A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor because I'm a bad. Because I was being good and I was reading all the books, and then Jen was like, hey, do NaNoWriMo. And then I stopped reading books.
No, you do both.
I can't do both because I was working all the time.
Yeah, there's that too.
But now I'm not working as much.
So what are you currently reading?
I'm not.
What should you be currently reading?
Well, I want to finish A Beautifully Foolish Endeavor because it's been sitting on my shelf for like 3 months. And I was reading Axum's End, but it timed out on my Libby account, and so I have to wait for it to come back around again. I don't have anything in mind for the podcast. If anyone has suggestions.
Yes, we are always open to suggestions.
I don't currently have anything that I am in the middle of reading for pod. I'm trying to see if the Warhol Gang is on Libby, and it's not.
Yeah, that one might be a weird one to find.
You'd think it'd be easier to find if it's HarperCollins.
Who knows? Maybe they stopped publishing it.
Maybe.
I am currently reading. Let's see. My ebook is Kings and Griffins, which is by Judith Starkson, who we are going to interview at some point soon.
Yes.
And I am reading it. That's the ebook that I'm reading. And the audiobook that I am currently listening to is Marrow Thieves, which is by Sherry I'm going to say Dimeline. and it's Canadian book.
Hmm.
I keep finding the Canadians. I'm so far from my homeland, and yet I keep finding the Canadians. Anyway, and I still have Nothing to See Here sitting as a hard copy book, so that's got to happen too. I will pick that up.
I think I maybe found my next thing. I was trying to find the Warhol Gang on Hoopla. There's a book on here called The Queen's Gambit.
Yes.
You know, like the Netflix series.
Yeah.
But not.
Oh, it's
a different book. It is not the Netflix series.
We should do that.
I might read this. I might do this. They have it on ebook, and I have a feeling that it came up in the search because people were searching for the Queen's Gambit and are finding lots of other things.
That would be, yeah, that's a thing we should do. We should do like books that have the same titles or have the same titles as movies, and they are not. That's not what you're getting.
So there are two books on here called The Queen. I'm gonna look and see if there's any more. There are 2 audiobooks on here called The Queen's Gambit. One is some sort of sci-fi novella. And the other is some sort of historical something. I'm trying to. Oh my God, there are so many books called The Queen's Gambit. Okay. This might be a thing that I have to do.
Yeah, we can start with The Queen's Gambit as like our jumping off point for it, so you have something to talk about. But yeah, that would be a great topic. Talk about judging a book by its cover.
By its title.
By its title. Mm-hmm. Not just covers that are lookalikes, but titles that are knockoffs of each other.
I also wonder, like, how, I don't know. This is a whole. We'll get into it. We'll make this an episode. This will be my next endeavor. I will listen to like 6 different books with the same title and see what happens.
Challenge.
All published in like the same year.
Yeah. Okay. So that's going to be the same thing as like the book covers that are all knockoffs. They all have the same artwork. This is going to be the same thing. Is they're trying to feed off of the same titles.
Okay, I just borrowed 5 different books called The Queen's Gambit. I'm pretty sure that's my quota for the month on Hoopla.
That's awesome.
Oh my God,
but see, now you've got 5 books to listen to.
Yeah. Okay, we need to go before I get in any more trouble here. All right. That's all today, boys and girls.
Remember, don't be genre bland.
Don't be genre bland. If you want something good that's irreverent, go read Good Omens.
That is not saying Apocalypse Ark isn't good. It's just a type.
Okay. Well, then should we for now say goodbye?
We should say goodbye.
Goodbye.
Goodbye, Mary.
Thank you so much for cracking another case with Mary and Jen. To learn more about Casing the Cover, follow us on Facebook and Twitter at Casing the Cover. To contact us or suggest a book, email casingthecoverpod@gmail.com. New episodes of Casing the Cover released the second and fourth Tuesday on YouTube, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, and Stitcher.